Good morning. My name is Carol Rosen. In 1974, after being a sixth grade school teacher, I was introduced to the late Dr. Wernher von Braun in the U.S., the father of rocketry. In my first meeting with him, during that first 3.5 hours, he said to me, "Carol, you will stop the weaponization of space." And I said, teachers don't stop until June. He said, "No, you have to understand. This is February. And we have to prevent the weaponization of space because there is a lie being told to everyone that the weaponization of space is now first being based upon the evil empire, the Russians. There are many enemies," he said, "against whom we're going to build this space-based weapon system, the first of whom was the Russians, which was existing at that time. Then there would be terrorists. Then there would be third world countries. Now we call them rogue nations or nations of concern. Then there would be asteroids." And then he would repeat to me over and over, and the last card would be the extraterrestrial threat. Well, at the time, I kind of laughed when he said asteroids, and when he said extraterrestrials, I knew I wasn't going to deal with that subject. And now we hear on the news just today, this week, that they've slid in another enemy. Only this time we're going to protect our satellites. In other words, we have to have some reason to spend these trillions, to waste these dollars on a space-based weapon system, and they're all lies. This is a system, he told me, that would never protect anyone. Even back then, he talked about suitcase bombs. He talked about chemical, viral, bacterial, biological warfare, that these space-based weapons would never protect us against. And then he told me that, in fact, if you travel around the world, which I did after he died in 1977, I met with people in over 100 countries who were friends. They didn't want to build space-based weapons. I became a space and missile defense consultant, and I worked with people around the world. I became an advisor to the People's Republic of China. They don't want to build a space-based weapon system, and he told me back then that they didn't. He said, "Go to Russia. They're considered to be the enemy." I got on a plane by myself. When I got to Russia, I had a list of people that I had read out of the newspaper. Chernenko was in office then. He was the only one I didn't get a chance to meet. They introduced me to everyone when I got there. And when I got back, I said, "Oh my Lord, this man is telling the truth. There is no threat." And I've been waiting until this day for 27 years, and I'm expecting the spin to happen, because he also explained to me that as a military strategist, as a person who worked on the MX missile, which I did later, he said, "You will find that there is going to be a spin to find some enemy against whom we have to build space-based weapons." And now we should expect the spin, because he said part of the formula for the intelligence community is if they might have a weapon, then we have to consider that they do have these weapons. So now they do have these weapons, so now we have to build these weapon systems. And that's the formula, except that it's all based on a lie. And we have witnesses here today that have shown you that these extraterrestrial beings, that these craft that have come here are now not UFOs, they're identified flying objects, and we know that they have beings in them. And we have witnesses here who have told you that they can shut down our missile silos, they can stop a rocket going into space that's a test. We have witnesses here who have worked in the classified departments, who have the courage to come forward here to support what Wernher von Braun told me back in 1974 to 77. And I will testify before the Congress that when I founded the Institute for Security and Cooperation in Outer Space, which I shut down a few years ago because I didn't believe we had a chance with this huge, integrated around the world, complex weapon system, that we had any chance at all of transforming that war industry into a space industry that could provide benefits, like Dr. Greer has said, of global warming. We can end that situation of that problem. We can end the energy crisis. We can build now non-polluting technologies. Wernher von Braun used to tell me that we could have cars back then that drove around off the ground. He described this to me on beams so that we have no pollution on this planet. And we can solve the problems of the people that are urgent and potential, and the other animals and the other cultures on Earth and in space. And we can end the arms race without dislocating the industry jobs, without disrupting the economy, by transforming, Wernher von Braun told me, the war industry into a global cooperative space industry that will provide, he said, finally, more jobs and profits on this planet than during any hot or cold wartime, more products and services that can be applied directly to solving the problems of this planet. And we can have a whole planet now that lives in peace on Earth, with all the cultures on Earth, and with all the extraterrestrial cultures in space. And these are words that Wernher von Braun told me in 1974, and I will testify before the Congress under oath about everything I have said and more. Thank you.
I'd like to thank each of the witnesses and for your patience. We're running about 50 minutes late, and I do apologize for that. I want to emphasize that all these witnesses each could speak for probably
So believe what you want about that video. Here's my thing, that Dr. Carol Rosin there kind of explained the whole situation. She went from dark to light. She talked about the lies of the governments of the world and their reasons for building space-based weapons. And we've seen or have heard and are being programmed for all 5 of those reasons: Russia, terrorists, third world rogue countries, and now asteroids and extraterrestrial threats, which Rosin said that Wernher von Braun, the Nazi that came over to America working with Hitler, continued his work over here, said that it's all fake. But then Rosin goes on to come to the light side of it. Like I talked about before, exposing the dark, bringing in the light, or the righteous side of all this new technology and stuff we can have to help the world. And she goes on to claim that there's aliens that live in other civilizations and cultures, that we can all live in harmony. Now that's the good alien versus the bad alien, the setup with the bad while they bring in the light type thing that I've talked about in my previous video. So she covers the whole gamut there. But the point I want to get across in this video is asteroids and aliens. No matter how you look at it, when these threats come, and if they come soon, and like I said, I'm going to do more of a study on this, but I don't know how much time we have. So if we do see these things, there's no way you can tell me that what the powers that be have been preparing for, that they can't fake asteroid attacks. They can't fake real objects hitting the earth like they've done in the past in order to get a reaction from us. And then that will lead to whatever's coming, maybe a planet from which these alien beings will come and teach us how to ascend to their level of evolution, or whatever the lie is. My point is that they've been preparing for a long time to fake asteroids and to fake aliens being disguised as aliens that are really demonic entities. You know, asteroids have hit the earth before. Oh, they're real. Okay. Prove it. Prove it. Prove when you see something flashing in the sky that that's not man-made and it's a real asteroid. prove it without researching through NASA or any other government organization. The so-called places that have absorbed asteroid impact. Where's the asteroid? Now there's just a big hole there, right? That can be explained in a million different ways that are much more conducive and realistic and scientifically accurate than an asteroid impact. So if you want to believe, you know, like I said, I'm going to explore this later. It's not of the highest level of importance because it doesn't have anything to do with your salvation or understanding the truth of who Jesus Christ is, but it will play into perhaps end time deceptions. So if you want to believe the narrative, what NASA tells you, what you've read, what you've known, what the movies tell you about asteroids and aliens, then fine, that's your choice. You can believe that stuff. But when these things do happen, asteroids, aliens, I want to raise awareness that they could be planned by man or by the beings that are controlling man in order to get a reaction from people to embrace whatever their answer is going to be for those asteroids and the aliens, or whatever combination of it's going to be. Just want to do my part to have people be aware of the possible deception that lies in there. And I'm going to promote a guy who I think does some very interesting videos. His name is Terry Richter, I believe, or is it Eicher? Eicher, I don't know how to pronounce that. Terry R. Eicher. Eicher? Eicher? I don't know. I'm probably way off. But his channel is The Flat Out Truth, and he has a video which I'll link that talks about what meteors are. It gives you a different perspective on things, on the earth that we live on and things like that. And like I've said before, I don't know what this earth is. I've never been high enough to see it, but I know it's not a spinning ball earth flying through space randomly at 8 different speeds, defying all logic and real science. So this gives you just a different perspective to do your own research and come up with your own conclusions. If you want to believe, like I said, the narrative that's been spun for hundreds of years because you learned it in your grade school textbook, you know, that's fine. It's not, you know, something that needs to be explored if you're happy with it. But if you want to know what some possible avenues that can be used to deceive us very soon, I would encourage you to look at The Flat Out Truth. Just type that into YouTube. Just short, condensed, interesting videos that could give you some avenues of research or a different perspective. That's all. Thanks for your time. I hope you guys have a good day.